All right, we're going to do another mailbag since we skipped July due to the surgery, which because of I got a lot of messages and comments wishing me well. So I want to thank everyone who did so. I certainly appreciate it. It does mean a lot to me. Funny thing is, because videos go on Patreon before YouTube, by the time the majority of people had seen it and were sending me messages wishing me well, it was 3 weeks to a month later and I was already well. It's a weird feeling to be wished well when you're already well, but I do appreciate the sentiment nonetheless. So thank you, and let's get into it. Along with the well wishes, we also had a few pictures of orange balls sent in, which is always a welcome sight. I love seeing the variety that one sigil has manifested into and continues to manifest into. Been having a lot of success within the past week when it comes to my financial endeavors, and I've only been subscribed to your channel for about a month. Just going to keep at it. When it comes to positivity and focus, keep up the great work. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that, and it's great to hear that you are starting to have success and that this channel has made a difference in your life. I always say that the slightest shifts in perspective can turn everything around. Thanks for watching, and you keep up the great work as well. I do wonder, what is the right amount of work? Should it be 40 hours or less? Or should there be like a life hour logger that says after you work X amount of time, you can stop working and have what you need? This was a comment from over on Patreon on the Taurus video. And this is one of those questions that can have multiple answers. The real question is, why are you asking? Because are you trying to get out of work? You only want to work so much and then stop? It's appropriate that this comment was on the Taurus video because that's what Taurus likes to do. Taurus would love nothing more than to get out of work. It is fixed earth. It doesn't want to move. It would love to just lay around in leisure all day. But the reality is that the work never ends, my friend. And I just talked about this a couple videos ago, where there's always something that you could be doing. Even if you're not working on your job, there's always some work that you could be doing for yourself. The work never ends. Now, that said, when it comes to finances and earning money, not all work is created equal. There are some forms of work that are much harder than others, and there are forms of work that earn way more money than others. And there are smarter ways to work than others. Now, Bob Proctor has repeatedly said that working is the worst way to earn money. You don't work to earn money, you provide service to earn money. And you're like, yeah, but you still got to put in the work, right? Yeah, absolutely. So let me try to break it down a little bit more. Try not to think about it in terms of money. Let's think about it in terms of time. And perhaps you'll understand a bit more of why I talk about why my time is so valuable to me. And this is going to be an oversimplification, but it still holds true. Poor people or financially dependent people sell their time, whereas wealthy people, those who are financially independent, buy time. So if you're working a 9 to 5 and you're putting in those 40 hours a week, you are selling your time, and you cannot achieve wealth by selling your time. Conversely, rich people will buy time. So let's say that you're well off. Let's say that you're doing pretty good and you're making on average about 100 hours an hour, let's say, to make it simple. Sounds pretty good, right? Now let's say that your house needs cleaning. You need to clean the bathroom, the kitchen needs cleaned, you have some dirty dishes that need to be done, some laundry that needs folding, whatever it is. Now, if you do it, it's going to cost you 100 hours an hour because that's what you're making in whatever it is that you're doing. And it's going to take you 3 to 4 hours to do this. So that's $300 to $400 that you are going to be out of. Or you can hire someone to do it for $30 an hour, which saves you $70 an hour. based upon what you are making, what your time is worth. So this is an instance of someone buying time. Now, I still do a lot of my own work that I probably should hire somebody to do, especially yard work. But truth be told, I enjoy the yard work. It's a great form of exercise for me to mow the lawn. No one else is going to do it better than me, because no one's going to put in the detail to stripe it the way I want, etc. And working outside helps you to connect to earth, to help me connect to the land, which is important. So this is one concept you really need to understand: maximizing your time where you can buy it, and avoid selling your time whenever possible. That's what's really annoying about phone solicitors and the like, who go through their pitch and you're not interested and they thank you for your time. Well, no, I didn't want to give you my time. You basically stole it from me. It's another thing Bob Proctor talks about with people that'll come up and ask him for a minute of his time. Just a minute of your time, Bob. But do they know what a minute of Bob Proctor's time is worth? Quite a bit. When you start reaching those levels, and his age, to be quite honest, they're better off asking for money than a minute of his time. So anyway, that's one concept of work and money that you should really understand, that rich people buy time, and those who aren't, sell it. The other concept you should understand is passive income. Now, I know there's a lot of definitions of what passive income is tossed around out there, but what I'm specifically talking about when it comes to passive income is where you put in all the hard work up front into something, and then it continues to generate income for you, which is then considered an asset. An asset is anything that puts money into your pocket, and a liability is anything that takes money out of your pocket. Liability is also a legal term that everyone does their best to avoid having. No one wants the liability because it's going to take money out of their pocket, you understand. Rich people collect assets, poor people collect liabilities. So let's take your average person. Let's say they come into a lot of money and win the lottery or something. What do? Well, they'll buy the nice house, they buy the fancy car, they go out and they collect a lot of liabilities, and before long, they're back where they started. Your vehicle is not an asset if it's not putting money into your pocket. Your house is not an asset if it's not making you money. The exception would be if you're renting it out and more money is coming in than your expenditures. Then it would be an asset, and that's what people in real estate and real estate development do. Then there's investing. Some of the wealthiest people in the world are investors. They put their money in and then they expect a return on that money. But those aren't the only types of passive income. You don't need a lot of money and jump into real estate to get passive income. My programs are passive income. I put a lot of work into each program up front to develop the program, and then I sell it over and over and over and over again. And in this way, I earn money on my past work, on my past time. Authors do the same thing. So they put all that time and work into writing their book, and then they sell that same book over and over and over and over again. And while it's true that they make the most money when that book is brand new, depending upon the author's popularity, that book can continue to make money even decades later. And that's the big difference. With passive income, you're earning money off of your past time and efforts, while those who earn money the traditional way, such as a 9-to-5, are selling their present time and efforts. So to answer your question, what's the right amount of work? Should it be 40 hours a week or less or more? Well, only you can answer that. As I said before, the work never ends. Even if I'm making money on my assets for all the past work that I've done, I'm still developing the next program. I'm still collecting the next asset. So it doesn't mean I get to kick back and do nothing. It's not unheard of for me to work over 40 hours a week, to burn that midnight oil long into the night, just to try to keep things on schedule. But as long as you start buying time and collecting assets while minimizing selling time and collecting liabilities, you will be on the path to financial independence and wealth. Do you think the reason ritual magic works well for you is because your sun is in Capricorn? No. I mean, well, maybe. But it certainly wouldn't be the only reason. Capricorns are the most skeptical sign. Capricorn is cardinal earth, so it's a very practical sign, down-to-earth sign. So to get a Capricorn to believe in magic and anything spiritual, really, can be quite an undertaking. But the Capricorn that does believe can move mountains. So that would be the only reason that I would say that it may play a part in it. There are a lot of astrological influences that can contribute to magical ability. Magic is really ruled by Scorpio. The planet Mercury has a lot to do with magical ability, and so does the moon. Just like everything else about astrology, one planet in one sign simply isn't enough to go on. One would need to look at the full picture, the full chart. Now, not to diminish astrology or anything, but the reason that ritual magic works so well for me is because I've trained in the curriculum for many years, mastering the elements and the planetary influences. What's the house of the moon? 4th house. The sign of Cancer in the 4th house is ruled by the moon. It's very obvious you are in total lack of understanding concerning DMT. You do not understand what Joe Rogan was describing when he used the term talking to God. And because this lack of understanding, the presumptions you have made are incorrect, and because your whole theory is based on these incorrect and false assumptions, I'm afraid your mystery school teachings are off to a rather bad beginning. The mystery school teachings aren't just beginning, they've been going on for a while. I think you're just late to the party. If you want to go back to the beginning, the very first video I did talked about how when people disagree with you, they'll tend to throw out the baby with the bathwater. They'll tend to throw out everything that you've talked about because they disagree with one part of it. This is polarization. I would advise that you do go back to the very beginning because your polarization has obviously been triggered. I do understand what Joe Rogan was talking about. He was describing the indescribable. I can only go by what he's saying. I can only go by the words that are coming out of his mouth. Joe Rogan has also said that DMT is like mushrooms times 1,000,000 plus aliens. These are his words and his descriptions. So to say that I don't understand what he's talking about, when I know that he's trying to describe the indescribable, is a bit presumptuous on your part. As truth regarding afterlife reality is some of the basic core knowledge that must be assimilated correctly before any journey towards an end goal of divine gnosis can truly begin. All truths are but half-truths, my friend. Go back, watch the early videos, read the Kabbalion. Remember when I said that people will often accuse others of what they are guilty of themselves? Here he is accusing me of not knowing the basics when he himself doesn't know the basics. And he ends it with P.S. Oh yes, my friend, indeed I have smoked DMT on numerous occasions. Great big pipefuls. Lol, lol. So basically what he's doing here is saying that I don't know what I'm talking about, but he does. Because he has the experience and I don't. I can only go by what Joe Rogan and others have said. And this may very well be true, because knowledge comes from first-hand experience. So if he's smoking DMT all the time, then he would certainly know more about what it's like than I do. However, that doesn't cancel the fact that this is another case of someone who missed the entire freaking point. The point isn't whether or not I understood the meaning behind Joe Rogan describing DMT. The point was that DMT, the most powerful hallucinogen known to man, which is also something that Joe Rogan said, don't tell me that I didn't understand what he was saying there, is secreted in large amounts by the human brain right before the moment of death, meaning that when you pass away, you're tripping out. That was the point, and you completely missed it. So I think you need to put down the pipe, lol, lol, and pay attention to what's actually being said. Okay? And I need to pay a little more attention to the time clock because we are out of time for today. Again, I'd like to thank everyone for their messages and comments and sending their love and support. It's very much appreciated. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Frater Xavier and consider joining us on Patreon, where all patrons get early access to Mystery School videos before they're available anywhere else. As of right now, Patreon is about a month ahead, and that will about do it. So until next time, take care.